now and slam that bell. Man, write down there as to why you love a Shure microphone, and that'll get you in the contest. Man, I'm so pumped up, man. It feels so good to be here tonight. Hang in there, guys. I want to try something real quick. See if I can do something here before we get started. Yeah, man. That in there like that right there. I'm going to paste that in there, man. Right on. Right on. Yeah. So did we send it or did we not send it? We're going to try to do something. There it is. Okay, guys. Okay, we're set. Tonight we're going to be talking about, do you feel a little manly? Man, I know I feel manly, dude. That's right. I'm talking about the Manley Reference Gold microphone. Wow. What a beauty that mic is, man. Oh my gosh. I want to say they came out with that microphone in 1990. And this microphone, you guys, if you haven't seen it, man, it is like a beauty. It's the Reference Gold microphone by Manley, and it is a staple in every major label studio just because it is so accurate and so pure in its own right. And I just can't wait to actually start doing some tracks with one of these puppies, man. It'll only set you back about 6 grand, but it is a very, very, very well known microphone. And whenever you get serious with your vocal tracks and your vocal takes, you really do need a specific microphone to actually come into play and to take care of some of your things, especially if you've got a really, really pure singer and you want to catch all those little nuances that they make in their voice and all those little cracks and little just sweet little noises that especially a woman can make with her voice. And this just reminds me of the type of microphone that you actually want to use on a lady. But Manley also makes a lot of other great gear, and they're well known and have been well known for many, many years. I love their ELOP and then their massive passive compressors that they have out. And you'll probably find these tube compressors in all your major label studios as well as your mastering studios. But I got to thinking the other night as to what really makes a great condenser microphone. And there are so many to choose from out there. And there's some lightweights, and then there's some heavyweights, and then there's some middleweights. There's some middleweight microphones that's in the middle of the road that you're going to spend around. I don't know. It depends on if you build one yourself or if you buy one, but you're going to spend around $2,000 to $3,000 to get you in that middle of the road. Um, this microphone right here is a Telefunken AK-47, which, by the way, they do not make this microphone anymore. Okay, they stopped making this microphone simply because they built this microphone, from what the article says, around the tube. So the demand or the supply of the tube is apparently low, and they stopped making this one. But I got to tell you, for my voice, this microphone is a monster, man. It is a beautiful mic, and it sounds superb on my voice. I really love it. There's no sibilance that can be heard on this microphone. Now, a lot of other microphones, a lot of other cheap microphones, especially if it's a cheap capsule, you can hear a lot of sibilance in the voice. And man, my voice just has a lot of sibilance. You probably don't hear too much of it going through this Shure uh, S microphone right here. Just those S's probably aren't pronounced as much, and you hear probably more of a low end sound. But it's a keep in mind it's a dynamic microphone. But when you had a nice condenser microphone on your voice that picks up everything, picks up all the little nuances in the room, in your mouth, every little clicks and ticks and things that happen with inside your mouth, um, you definitely want a microphone that's not going to express all those S's in your vocal track. Now, on a cheaper microphone with a cheaper capsule, maybe a China made capsule or whatnot, you're going to really notice a lot of those S's in your voice. And that's something that you can actually come in and dB out those S's. Hey, Dennis, what's going on, man? I can't see you, but I'm gonna try something a little different here. Yeah, I can see you. Can you see me? Okay, I wanna try to put you on the screen up here with me and see if that does anything. Um, no, you shouldn't have to change anything on your end. Um, let's see. I went to something the other day and it actually brought you on the big screen with me. Show and stream. There you go.
Excellent.
There you go.
Hello,
There you
everybody.
are, man. Hey, hey, man.
All right.
Oh, I'm a liking the way it's a looking.
Am I on this side or you're on that side?
Yeah. It doesn't matter,
Should
man.
we talk like this?
No. You're good, man. I see. Actually, I see you a lot better this way, man. I don't know why I
Good,
didn't
good.
put you on the big screen last night because we did
Well,
that.
we didn't find the button. It
And
happens.
it's always right there in front of us, right?
It happens. It happens.
So, man, I was talking about the Manley Reference Gold microphone tonight, uh,
Hmm.
Dennis. And you know what? I don't know. I'm sure you've seen that puppy, man. But
I've seen them, and like I told you earlier, I've had, besides some, I've used some of the Manly gear. I never, unfortunately, had the chance to use one of their mics. But many years ago, when I was still, very early on learning, as a student, I used to visit pawn shops and buy, from gear to, cassettes, anything that I didn't see in the shops, I'd buy. And I remember picking up a CD that was by, Manley,
yeah,
and it was, supposed to be some golden reference thing. I was like, okay,
right,
must sound good, and it
right,
did. And it did. And in the back, it said it was recorded through all the Manley reference this and the preamps and all this stuff. And back then, it meant nothing to me because I was, still like playing in bands and I didn't really know much about it. But I knew it. You could tell that it sounded very good.
very good.
It
Yeah,
sounded like it was jazz, and it was like being there in the room. And I remember it was like, wow, okay, that must be some really, really fancy equipment that,
oh yeah,
hopefully somebody else gets to use.
oh yeah. And here's the thing with
Hmm.
those microphones. The high end gear, as you know, man, really picks
Hmm.
up those nuances in someone's voice. All the ticks and clicks, whether it's good or bad, it's
Hmm.
going to pick it up.
Well, there
And
were also, years later on, I found out a little more about Manley, the company itself, and they mostly just created whatever you had money for.
okay,
And when, for instance, the first time I went to visit, or I had the opportunity to be involved in a visit to Bob Ludwig's mastering studio, his mastering console was Manley,
wow, wow.
and it was custom made. Yeah, sure, you could go to Manley and be like, "Hey, build me a mastering console, and this is what I wanted to have," and that's
Mhm.
what they would do for you. But
Yeah.
it wasn't anything that you could buy over the counter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Eva was a big, playing party in as far as seeing that through, right? I mean, as far as designing it out for him, how he his
Well, I think Eva at that point was still a child.
oh, wow, okay.
Eva, I think, ended up mostly, um, joining her father in the company before he unfortunately passed, and then
Yeah,
taking over. She undoubtedly has, she has a lot of knowledge, but I
yeah,
don't know how much of that it really is into the, maybe probably into. I don't know her personally,
yeah,
so I can't really talk to. But I mean, their products, speak for themselves. Obviously, their legacy is there.
Yeah, that E lamp is
Yeah, I
that
mean,
E
I don't
lamp
know
is am
if you had the opportunity. There's a couple of
oh
videos. There's one with Mick talking about the ELAP and what it does.
yeah, yeah.
And that one's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I've actually owned that piece and really, really
Hmm.
enjoyed it. I mean, when you got a nice piece of gear in your hand, you actually know it. You can feel
Hmm.
it. Hey, but by the way, thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure, man. That's a big chunk of learning for you.
Well, earlier what you shared with me on
Hmm.
on the app, on
Hmm.
the not app, but on the plugins
My
on the new.
pleasure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I just met that guy a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
Peters. Yeah, he's in Belgium. He's established studio and live engineer. But he's a little older than me, and you can tell in Europe you have access to a lot of that nice vintage gear, and he has a
Man.
nice collection of it. And the chance to hear them both back to back, it's he did a good job.
Yeah, he did do a good job, and I gotta tell you, man, from what I was listening through, I really couldn't hear that big of a difference. I mean,
It's very little. It's very little. The emulation again, they're getting better and better and better. And it started with the UAD ones. When you heard the UAD ones compared to the waves of that period, you
mhm,
you took the waves out.
yeah, yeah. I
and
love I
and
love
and the
that
and the
UAD.
best emulation was the 1176. You took the 1176 for the UAD one and the 1176 from Waves from
Mhm.
10 years ago, and you would have closed the Waves plugin in a minute, in a heartbeat.
Wow. Well, see, I actually started out with
Hmm.
that U81 card. In fact, I still have that puppy in this dead.
I have the box right there.
You have the box still?
Yeah.
Well, look, man, I've got. We need to put them together, man, because I've got one that's still working and live in a dead computer, so it's still
Well, the
in.
thing is that they don't support those anymore.
Oh,
Yeah, they stopped supporting them. The card I have two cards in my Hackintosh,
oh,
but they
interesting.
don't work.
Oh, wow.
The computer sees them, but it's just they stop supporting, and they don't, they just don't support UAD ones anymore.
Okay, okay, they've moved on.
Hmm.
They've moved on, but I
Well,
tell you,
they don't even the UAD twos don't aren't really active. I don't think
mhm,
they have some kind of UAD two satellite or something like that. Any those might even be on their way out.
mhm. So now it's the Apollo. They're,
Yeah, ever since the Apollo came out, that's
mhm,
their
their main deal.
mainstay line of products. Yeah,
I like your studio, man. It looks
hey,
good, dude.
it's
Yeah, you
cozy.
got.
You like the fake fish over there?
Oh yeah, I see.
There's 10 hours of 4K fish tank on YouTube, man. All kinds
Oh
reefs,
wow. Oh okay.
reefs,
Yeah, yeah.
saltwater, river
Okay.
fish,
Oh
rainforests,
yeah, I like that.
beaches,
Oh yeah.
mountains.
It looks real, man.
Well,
It
that's the
looks.
whole point. I had the fireplace a couple weeks ago.
Nice, nice. I was looking up by your lamp up there. It looked like a fish up there by your lamp. Is that a fish lamp up there? What is that in the
No, it's just
corner?
a regular triangular ugly lamp.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just it does give out a lot of light just because
okay,
it's there.
right on. Yeah, man. I like the fish, man. I'm a big fish guy. Actually, at one time I had a bunch of
There's no fish there.
no, I know.
Oh, you mean these guys? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, man. So I used to have a bunch of Africans and cichlids in my
Hmm.
tank at one time. Man, those are
This is a lot cleaner.
exactly,
Yeah.
and a heck of a lot easier to take care of, right?
Oh yeah. And if I can change it to Hawaiian landscape if I want to any minute.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, just with a push of a button, right?
Yeah, they have some you can have. They have the North Shore Hawaii in high definition. It's great.
Oh, nice. Hey, did you take your lights down?
Yeah, I
You were
did, but my kid wanted to hang him out in the living room anyway, so I didn't bring him out.
so let
So
him. Let it,
they're gonna be hanging out in the living room for a couple more days.
sweet. So I wanted to show you something, Dennis.
Did you check that video out for those lights?
No, I haven't, but I'm
Oh,
going to. I was too
okay.
busy. I was
All right.
watching. I was doing the watching the UAD thing
It
comparison
happens.
today.
Oh, good. That's more important though.
But I wanted to show you something, man. And
Hmm.
you probably already seen it before. But they stopped making this.
They did? Are you
Yeah,
sure?
I'm 100%. They don't.
That's the 47 you said?
Yeah,
No.
the AK-47.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't know if
Well,
you can see.
they have so many different types though.
They do. They do, but
Yeah.
the reason I read they stopped making this one
Hmm.
is because the demand, the tube, they designed this around the tube.
And they ran it out of the tube.
And yeah.
Well, then you'll have a rare mic soon.
I'm just hoping it lasts a good while,
Well,
man.
just try to find out the type of tube and start, make it a
You know,
habit. Every couple of weeks, look for a tube.
yeah, so
Spend
I
20
gotta
minutes looking for a tube.
have a
Just
little
have a couple,
spare.
take out a few spares.
I love this mic, man. It's not the gold reference
Yeah,
mic.
but I'm sure it's a gold for something. That's the thing. All the mics are good for something,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
sometimes all of them together are really good for something else, or a combination thereof.
I know, man. I know. So, what is your go-to? What is your go-to mic as far as for vocals these days? Putting somebody on a vocal.
You know that I always learn lessons with that. It's never every time I think I have something that will work for something, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
And it goes back to that last what we spoke about last night. This artist, I was like, oh, I know this Neumann will work for you perfectly.
Right.
And it sounded so wrong. It just it was no question about it.
Just didn't.
And for a second, I was a little bit in a bit of a panic because I really had nothing better than the Neumann.
Right.
And
Right.
I was like, okay, what do I do? And I was like, well, okay, his voice quality when he sings is a little nasally. So I figured what's the quickest thing that I can do to keep the session going
Mm-hmm.
and not kill the vibe. Because that right there, it's song number one,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't like his vocals. We're
Right.
on a remote location with all this rented gear, and you don't want to kill the vibe.
Right.
So I pulled out the ribbon microphone, the CAD, just on a whim, really on a whim, knowing what it could do if I placed it the right way, thinking that it could do what it could do. So it was, since knowing that the ribbon microphone is darker, it will basically EQ anything that's bright going into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I figure, split the polar pattern, top for him, the bottom blend it into the guitar. If not, I can EQ it out. That's really something that you can get out away with.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it worked. He liked it. He was like, "That's the one," and he kept singing. And
Yeah.
we did the whole record like that. I think it was the 10th or 8th song in.
Mm-hmm.
The guy from Kadak that had allowed us to use the gear, the Kadak console, brought in an Erland microphone. It's a Swedish microphone. It sounded really good, kind of like the Neumann. It's some weird condenser design that they have. It was okay, but again, it was the same thing. It was too bright for him, and he was like, "No, no, 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 go back to the other one."
So
And
he
that,
knew. He
yeah,
knew.
that's what when he offered to buy. He's like, "Dude, I'll buy that mic. Don't change it again."
Right. He loved it. He fell in love with the way it sounded.
Yeah, and I said, like, listen, it's really not an expensive mic. And I said, I don't care. I don't care. He bought it from me. I was like, all
Mhm.
right.
So you know that I checked out that PL10.
Mm-hmm. It's tiny. It looks like
Little video,
yeah, it
baby.
looks like a tiny little RE20, and it
Oh my
sounds
god.
tremendous.
You know, I am so surprised I never seen one of those or heard
Well,
about one of
until I saw it, I didn't know anything about it either. And in
I
fact,
mean,
that when I showed it to Mick, he was like, "What? What is that?"
yeah.
And in fact, he didn't. The first time I brought it out, he didn't use it because he had never seen it before.
Okay. It
And
is a
then
dynamic.
another time, I plugged it in just to have it plugged in. And he heard it. He was like, "Oh, that sounds good." I was like, "Yeah, I had it the other day."
Is that is a dynamic microphone though,
Hmm.
correct? Yeah. I mean,
But
I
it's
would
the size, in diameter as 57,
yeah.
but not as long. But the
Wow.
same style, the mount's just the size of an XLR mount.
Wow. I wonder if it sounds good on a snare.
Oh, it's perfect for that.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
almost, you almost, it's almost too bright for a snare.
oh,
For
wow.
some snares, like for a piccolo or something like that, it'd be great
Yeah. Wow. What about
because it doesn't have a ton of bottom end
okay. Okay.
compared
What
to a 57.
yeah. Yeah. I wonder if it would be good on something like a tom.
Oh, I've used it on toms. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Kind of blend right in perfect, you know.
Yeah,
So
it just has a very, I wish I had more than one,
yeah,
but I've only literally only seen one my whole life.
that was the first one I've ever seen.
Hmm.
You kept going, it's little, and I'm like, "Pff, what is he talking about,
It's
man?
tiny. It's tiny.
Wow, when did they come out? Do you know when they came out with that
It's
mic?
definitely an 80s mic.
Okay,
It's from the same period of the RE20. I mean, it looks exactly the same.
yeah,
Same design and everything.
everything. So it
But
was,
it's just a smaller diaphragm.
yeah, wow, man. So yeah, when you were telling me about that, I was like,
Hmm.
dude, I've searched the world over, thought I found true love. You know,
No.
never seen that mic, man. You
See
know.
if I can reach over. Oh, I got too much stuff. I'll grab it over. Next time we're on, I'll have it and I'll show it to you guys.
Yeah, that's a beautiful little mic, man.
Unfortunately, I don't have the RE20 to compare it to, but
Ah,
I'll have a 57 and compare it to it.
so I
And
told you,
and
I told you I placed that order on it, didn't I?
you
Did
did. No, you didn't
yeah,
tell me, but no, no.
okay, yeah. So it should be on its way, right?
Hmm.
And I'll probably do a little video because I like to do unboxing videos. Everybody likes
Hmm.
to see something open new, you know?
You don't smell the stuff?
I'm gonna smell it first. Yeah, man.
We always did the smelling test. No, oh yeah, on studio gear. I remember all the. I think what was it that one had the we used to compete things had the best smell.
Guitars,
I think
man.
it was no
Gu
everything studio gear, everything. I think it was the when the Avid came out with the 192s.
Oh, nice.
That had a really good smell.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it probably stayed in the room for a while too, right? I mean,
Not that long. I mean, I
okay.
got rid of the boxes quickly, but
Okay.
uh, for me, my favorite smell is the old gear, like all the tube old stuff, like my old Altec
Mhm.
mixer. When
Yeah.
you have that on going for about half hour,
Oh,
smells
yeah.
so good.
I know, man. I know. I don't know what it is about studios with old gear and those tubes burning, man.
Well,
You
it's not
know,
really the tubes; it's some of the internal parts have
art.
a phenolic type of material that's kind of like a not the Bakelite, part of the paneling that they used to make the point-to-point boards that they
Okay.
used on the inside. When they heat it up, they have that particular smell,
Yeah.
and it's just delicious to me.
I know. I know. It's better than candy, man. You know,
Well, I
sweet.
don't know that I'd eat it, but sure.
I don't know, man. You know,
Nice.
sometimes whenever you smell some of that
But
gear, man, it just
going back to the Manly stuff, it's really good. I've
mhm.
been able to use. I know that we had a preamp. We had the massive passive, and we also had like a DI channel that was Manly.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because we had it in the same rack with an API preamp, so you could use it with or without. It was really cool.
Yeah, wow, I bet so, man. I bet so.
Hmm.
They've also, they've got other gear out too. They've got that, what is it, the Vox box or something like
Yeah,
that.
that was a little that was coming out roughly when I was over there, but that stuff that's just made for
Strictly.
people that have a small amount of space. It's all in one type of solution box, which is great.
Yeah.
But when you
Man,
have
the thing
when,
looks that thick, you know?
yeah, I think it's like
You know what I mean?
five rack units or something like that.
Wow.
But I mean, we had no lack of different things to play with. I
Mhm.
found my day,
Mhm.
looking for things to play with that were like super amazing. Which one's less amazing than the one? It's
Right.
crazy.
Wow. So a lot of that stuff, y'all just stuck with a lot of API stuff and 1073
No,
stuff?
well,
No?
let's see. He had a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
He had Millennia. We had Crane Song. He had Calrec, Calrec is another English manufacturer.
Okay.
They are mainly known for broadcast consoles, but their warmth or their flavor is associated closer to like a Neve than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, like anyone else, analog consoles, and then through the ages, now they have digital ones too,
Yeah.
and they've retained their quality. They're great.
So
Um,
I'm sure y'all had a couple LA2As in there, right? I mean, y'all had
he
to have
had, what did he have? He didn't have LA2s. He had 1176s, black faces. I'm not the black faces,
silver.
the blue
Okay.
line ones.
Yeah.
Um, let me see. We had a couple of old 2254 Neves. Um, See, he didn't like to rely too much on old stuff like that was not easy to recall,
I got you.
because a lot of stuff is very temperamental.
Mm-hmm.
Um, unless he was certain that it's something that's probably not going to return for any kind of recalls or things like that, or a sound that they can be replicated without the unit being accurate, then he would really make the risk and do it. But
Mm-hmm.
not all the time. It's not to say that he didn't use any of that classic gear, and not all of these guys do, but
Mm-hmm.
it's another decision that you have to weigh in,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
I've seen when recalls don't come back as accurately as you think. I mean, you can have the knobs. I mean, because it's stuff that I did,
Mm-hmm.
that yeah, I know how to set up a recall, come back the next day, and just put everything exactly where it was. And we had a system to find out if a recall was accurate,
Wow.
to
Wow.
down the face, which
Wow.
is which is really easy. Basically, what you do is you always print your mix, whatever day you're doing it, right?
Right. Right.
So you will have that printed on your session. So the next day, when you come back and you finish your recall and you're playing back what you just recreated, you have that which you just recreated, and you play it out of phase. No, actually, no, you play it in phase with the playback that you recorded the day before, back to back. If they're identical,
Then you're
there
good.
should all you would hear is just a little bit of effects. Just literally, you would hear stuff like
Wow.
that. It's the most incredible thing I ever heard,
Wow. That is cool, man.
because they both, everything that's exact
Mm.
cancels out.
Exactly.
So
Wow.
basically, the least that you can hear is the more accurate that you are.
Interesting,
I don't
man.
know if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah. So, but you knew automatically if things weren't coming back to the
Hmm.
recall.
And we did that one day out of the blue, coming back from a day before. He's like, "Okay, this is how we're gonna find out if you did a good job." I was like, I was like,
What?
"What?" I was like, "Okay, I'll go make some coffee."
Yeah.
But it came out well, and I was like, that was a big learning moment for me. It was weird because of the way that it sounds when things are canceling each other, and the so-called, the quote-unquote pudding of you knowing that the test works is very bizarre sounding, because it's just a tiny bit of, something. It's never going to be exact
Hmm.
unless you're comparing, the same mix to each other. But from day to day, it was just a tiny bit of reverb, like almost nothing. You had to crank the monitors to hear that overlap.
Hmm.
But it was negligent enough that it was like, it's fine, it's close enough for rocket science.
Yeah. So let me ask you while we're talking about the studio that you guys were in.
Hmm.
How long were you guys on Eric Clapton's project?
Well, that would be normally, depending on the number of the songs. Let's say if it was a 12 songs in an album, about 13, 14 days in the studio, and then we would normally head up to Portland, Maine for about a week, and just kind of hang out at the mastering place with Bob Ludwig, and do whatever, whichever
Whatever.
workload he set it up. Because a lot of times he would do one record in 3 days or 2 days. It just depends on what he had going on how he felt. He's very much into how he feels in the day. It's not like he does things just because he has to. He,
Right.
I learned a lot from the whole process, just even being involved and watching what happened in mastering. It's
Mm.
not just a dude loading files in the computer and applying EQ. In fact, I'll go back to the first time, one of the first times I went up to Bob's, and we're just, he's very casual. He doesn't hide anything from you. And he, all of a sudden, we're just talking, and he pulls out a pitch pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Like those little ones that come in a little red box, and you pop it open, and it has the two sides with the pipes. And he
Yeah.
starts blowing it. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm getting ready to sequence the record.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean sequence the record? It's like, well, they asked me to lend my expertise. It's a part of my expertise in terms of how to sequence a record and how it involves how a record is perceived, and that is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. He says that in his philosophy, arranging the record musically in the way that you would arrange, say, a scale,
Mm-hmm.
helps in the perception of the record and how much people physically enjoy when they're listening to it
As far
and
as
how
what,
they respond to it
as far as
in
what key,
terms of
what
in terms of
key?
being fatigued. Yeah, in terms of key, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So he would, depending on the material, would start on a specific key, and then he would kind of write them down, song per song, key per key, and then play the key, and then kind of from there make a decision list and make suggestions to the artist or the management, whoever it was.
Mm.
And that blew my mind.
Wow. Yeah, that was the first time I ever heard. Now in live situations, like in worship or whatever, I know
Mm.
that the guy who was over that department, he would arrange the songs as to what key they were in, as to the flow of the songs. But I
Yeah,
always
say something similar. Yeah.
something similar. But I was always thinking that there was something a little more to that, as far as what order the songs went in and when they were going to put their hit, their number one song, whether it
Well,
was
so
number
obviously
three.
sometimes there's that, but sometimes artists really don't have an approach in terms of how to approach putting a list of songs together to make which one is the best. And
Right.
this guy kind of has a good track record in doing that, so they kind of trust him to do that.
Oh
That's
yeah.
really why, because that's another little question I had. It's like, so how did they put you up to this? And they're like, well, some people just. And he said, oh yeah, a lot of the newer and up and comer bands really don't have an idea about the process of doing this. So they're like, okay, well, somebody
Hmm.
told them something about it, and they tell me about it, and I'll try it.
Yeah. I bet you that was fun, going in his
Every
going.
time you learn something new.
Yeah. But I mean, I bet that was fun just sitting in on that project with him, man. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm. And it varied, because again, the approach he had for all the projects was different. There was always different gear being used, and he was always trying new stuff. And obviously, every time it sounded tremendous.
Yeah.
But the end result was it sounded like something that he had done.
Wow. Did he have any Avalon gear in his setup? Do you know? Do you
Um,
remember?
I think he has something. I'm not sure because all the stuff that he has is a lot of it is custom made by all these brands that I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
But it's not
I asked that.
unlikely that he does. He also
Yeah.
had there's many hallways at Gateway Mastering, and there were basically a collection of different types of multi-track machines that
No.
were all in tip-top maintained condition. That if say he thinks that there is a need to have them included in a session, he will bring them down and they'll be included in the session.
Wow.
And
Wow.
all the gear that you see being used there, it's just something like, oh, okay, I think the project will benefit from this thing. He'll bring it in, boom.
Whatever it's gonna need.
Hmm.
Wow. So he had I'm sure he had a bunch of Manly gear in there too. Like, yeah, we were
Well,
talking.
back then, like I said, when I started going there, he had the Manley console, but then he changed that because he needed a little bit more, like we all do. Needed
Mm.
more outputs, more inserts, the ability to insert more external stuff
Mhm.
instead of having to guesswork and then going back and patching and unpatching or having to wait. So he got himself into, back then it's the SPL MMC1 console, It's a something that they made back then for mastering, and they actually just he got rid of it. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm.
I don't know what he's got right now. It might be even an SPL, but I'm not sure.
Wow.
And I found, yeah, I found the article from, well, it was expired from Vintage King, and it was for sale there. His old console for 87,000.
Wow. Wow.
And I know that thing probably paid itself
A
the second
thousand times over.
the second project.
Wow. I wonder why he wanted to let go of it. Sometimes things like that you just want to kind of keep as an icon, as like a
I
trophy
couldn't
and
say without asking the guy. I couldn't say. For a while, I considered buying their smaller version of that, but again, things change in the industry, and you end up, this making different decisions. So it wasn't something that I needed. I didn't have a dedicated mastering suite. It wasn't something I needed to go into.
yeah, a lot of I mean there a lot of people are listening to albums now, man. A lot of people are,
Oh yeah.
want it.
Well, there's one back there hidden. There's a record share back there.
Yeah. Wow.
It's an older one. I inherited. It's an old. There was a big brand back in the '80s called Dual, German brand,
Okay.
and I inherited from the old man and refurbished it a few years ago, and it actually sounds really good.
Sounds good. I
Yeah,
know.
I bought a little external box for it, for the phono preamp section,
Mhm.
and it sounds really really good.
Wow. Yeah, man, that's that old gear, man. I don't know what it is, man.
Mhm.
Old gear. I love old
Well,
gear.
it was mostly because that Daft Punk record came out, and I needed to hear it in analog. So
Mhm.
I got that record, and it sounds really good.
So, like, a lot of people love that group, dude.
Hmm. Well, they're very famous in Europe,
Mhm.
and they're well known in that whole genre of EDM and all that.
Mhm.
Um,
My
they're
son
I
like
guess
my
they're
son likes them.
pretty well known here in the States from the time of that Tron movie remake,
Mhm.
and but not overly famous until this past thing with that album. They
Yeah.
had Kanye in there, and then from then on, Mick has basically done everything for Kanye since that.
Wow. Wow. Have you talked to Mick lately? I mean, have
Oh yeah,
y'all
I talk to him like every other month or so. He's in the process of moving himself to Vegas.
heard?
So yeah, they've had enough with the earthquakes and the fires.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. A lot of people from California and I hear New York too are moving here to Texas, man.
Well, the prices are dropping like crazy.
Yeah.
A lot
Wow.
of really good property going up there. We talked about that place in not too far from you in
I know.
Palacios.
I know. Did he
That
sell
building
that?
is beautiful. No, he's not going to sell it for any time soon. I don't think.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean
What a
that. I mean that area is a little depressed, if you ask me.
Yeah, but you could set a studio up in that baby,
Oh
huh?
yeah, we're for well, I would say probably I'm gonna guesstimate a sixth of the cost of what it would be here, if not
Wow.
less.
Wow. Beautiful. On the inside, that whole
Hmm.
building.
Hmm. The matter
Nah.
is the thing then is just attracting people to come down there, which
Mhm.
is another
Another thing.
quest by itself, considering what's going around there. I mean, I don't know if you take a look at the Google Earth. There's like a run down crackhead church in the back street there. It was it was an interesting community of
Right.
shops going down the street. But there's
Right.
plenty of park.
Uh-oh. What happened? Dennis, are you there? Let's see if I can get my friend back on here, man. What happened? Hello? Let's see if what happened, dude. I don't know what happened. I'm fixing to hang on. Bam.
Wow. It's like
That was
magic
weird.
now. That's weird. It just disappeared. It got me,
It just
just left me hanging.
did you hit anything?
I hit nothing.
Wow. It threw us out, didn't it? But hey,
Yes,
I got you
it's
back in.
probably the Be Live third party software probably has to do with it.
Probably so, man. So, man,
Now,
what
did our friend from last night, was he able to sort his thing out? Is he live
I
tonight with us?
no, 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 he's not on.
Hmm.
Somebody's on, but he's not on. I was gonna ask you, man, what are you planning on doing anything different now? Are
In
you
terms of what?
well, all this COVID stuff,
Well,
everybody's like
the thing up
hunkering
here,
down.
unfortunately, there isn't a ton of work happening at the moment. So, in concordance to that, we also need to kind of remain somewhat safe. So we're, at least I myself, trying not to go too far
Right.
and staying put. That said, you still try myself to get as many opportunities working from home as I can, but they're far and in between. Shows, I have a lot of production meetings and things like that, but dates get thrown around. But you remain hopeful and go
Yeah.
from there. But other than that, I'm hoping to have a lot more folks sending in their music and getting a lot more work mixing stuff from home.
Yeah.
Traditionally, that's not what I did a lot because most of my work was out working with people in the field.
Mhm. Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day. I was like, "Man, I don't know how they're gonna work this out." Right? Think of all the people that have been signed right
Mm-hmm.
before COVID hit, and these
Mm-hmm.
people were gonna go on tour, I mean, you had stuff lined out,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh yeah,
So, man, they're just, like, on the back burner. They're
pretty
waiting.
much everyone is.
"Come on, let's go. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let's move
No,
forward."
but I'm sure everyone's been recording. At least the people that I'm close to have all been active and writing music and whatnot, and everyone's eager to get back. It's just a matter of being able to justify it
Mhm.
and not have someone coming down your throat, a couple weeks later with lawsuits and stuff because you X, Y, or Z and put on the show.
Right,
You know,
right. Man, I tell you what. So what was your favorite board to work on, Dennis? I mean, actually be
the
behind.
one everything that didn't stop working.
No, live, I'm talking about live because there's so many boards that,
Let's see. My
live.
favorite. Well, I'm gonna say that my least favorite war, or at least the boards that make me shiver or say something like, "Oh no," the Behringer stuff, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, and let's see, stuff that gave me problems. Just one time that I had a really almost near death experience with a Midas digital console, where it was basically the end of the show, and at that point we're just kind of waiting for people to walk out, and there's music playing from a CD player, but we noticed that the meters aren't not moving.
Oh, wow.
So
Really?
the board had crashed, but it was still passing signal at that volume.
And I guess y'all
So we
winked at
just let it go. We just let it go. And luckily it was almost the end of the night, and at the end of the night we just brought the amplifier down and shut it off that way.
Wow.
And I haven't. No, that's not true. I've used the Midas console since, but very, very reluctantly.
So what was your favorite?
SSL all day long.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, it's kind of like I'm biased because I worked with it from such an early stage, before even working with the company.
Mhm.
I was working in another studio besides Make that had a C200, so I was very familiar with that one. And as luck would have it, the president of SSL lived in the area. The Don Wershbud, he's the U.S. president, and he used to come around quite a bit. For the studio had like basically like parties where they would invite people in the area to come out and eat hot dogs and introduce to each other. And he came back, and we kind of were friendly. and it was through him that I ended up becoming a beta tester for their new program back then for the console that was to become the live SSL console. And after I think it was 2 or 3 years, I would work with them as a demo, as a beta tester, and then I was asked to come in and work for the company full time, which
Nice.
was really cool. Yeah,
Wow.
and
Wow.
that it's an incredible console. It does remind me of an analog console that was built by a man named Jim Gamble. It's not really well known too much to a lot of people in the studio world, but he's considered a genius in the live world.
Mhm.
And that console sounded like the SSL, the headroom, and as soon as you, I mean, I it's
Hard
like
yeah, so
yeah, it's like I don't know, it's like riding a bike, and you
yeah,
ride it 20 years later, and it's not just riding the bike, it's riding that bike. The
right.
sound was identical.
Wow.
The
Wow.
headroom is like, oh yeah, that reminds me of the Gamble console.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, whenever you would go run sound like that, would someone who would supply the board? I mean, how did that all work? Did the band
It comes down to budget, or depending on who the artist is. It's not common. It's not very common for a lot of artists to own their equipment anymore, other than like in-ear monitors and things like that. And that's literally the pads, not the actual gear. Um, Generally, yeah. At least around here, there's a couple of companies that I rely on, and some are better than others. One of them, their gear, it's clean. You could literally almost eat out of. And I typically try to get my clients to go in that direction,
Yeah.
because that also makes my job easier. I can choose the text that I can rely on,
Yeah.
and it's generally from that company. It's all my, if I'm mixing front of house, I have two or three monitor guys
Mhm.
slash techs, stack system techs that I can do my job and not worry what's happening on stage.
So they actually do the setup, and then you do
Well,
the
they do. They know how to set up the PA, and he would mix monitors. If the budget is bigger, I can bring more people to do more jobs. But generally, it's one or two guys that handle all my backstage needs.
wow. And how long typically does that take them to set up, get it all
Well, for instance,
plugged
for
and
for
ready?
J for JT, for a show with JT Taylor from Cool and the Gang, that is, let's see, we have a drummer, we have two keyboard players, three backup singers, bass player, guitar player, and JT. Um, Typically, if we have, let's see, on nationally, setting that up would be about an hour and a half
That's not
before we're
long.
ready for sound check.
Wow, that's not long,
Yeah.
man.
Well,
That
everything it's we have procedures for everything,
mhm,
and we obviously have rehearsals and things like that. So everything is everyone has a task, and things get done, by
mhm.
the numbers, so to speak.
Yeah, has there ever been a time that y'all were, like, running late or rain or something kinda holding you guys back from getting it
No, not with
moving
this guy. I
forward?
mean, the only time that was anything like that is when we almost lost the flight coming back from Italy, and that was nothing that was I could control. But we made it. We made it, and I looked like a freaking hero. It was great.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's great when it works that way.
Yeah, but I bet you were sweating bullets.
Oh yeah, I mean, it would have been great because I would have been stuck in England, and I would have gone down to see my buddies at SSL. But then I had a whole band of people that had nowhere to stay, and that would have. Well, I mean, not the airline would have probably paid for it, but still, nobody wants that at that point.
No, no, the show must go on,
Yeah.
man. Wow, that's neat, man. Yeah, I often thought about that, how long it actually took those guys to actually do the setup, I mean, wheel it off the trucks if they're bringing in monitors and whatnot.
Well, that then there's also how many things you get taken care of before getting there. Because mind you, this is what I was talking about. Is a custom event that we did in an island and off the coast in Italy. So the conversations for this started. This show was in September. We started talking about this in January.
Wow.
So there were multiple emails, to people that barely speak English. They're also, they ended up being very knowledgeable, but the language barrier makes a huge difference. And you almost have to write everything 3 times to make sure that you're seeing eye to eye with folks and they're understanding what you want them to say. Because we send what is called the technical writer, and I'm sure you heard about this. It's basically a long document that
Mm.
has all the needs that my artist has, from what he needs in terms of gear down to he needs a changing tent for his costume changes, and it
Mhm.
needs to be this size and this close to the stage, and there needs to be fruit,
Right.
stuff like that.
Right.
So all those things need to be discussed, and we need to know who's taking care of them. And no, we can have this here, but we can't substitute with this and this or that. Okay, cool. So it was, months of after a while, you kind of learn to kind of roll with the punches, but you were pretty tense all the whole time until you actually get on site and you meet with the people that you've been talking to, and you find out all these things that you thought you were having and then they're not, or you're getting it something that's different, and you're like, oh fuck, I have to tell my artist now because you know
Right. Right.
but luckily it all worked out.
It
You
all
kind of
worked.
take it all in stride. You plan for the worst and try your best anyways.
Mhm. Mhm. It's
But
kinda like
but it was all very surreal. We were in Sardinia, and it's funny because I'm walking. We went to do the site survey a couple of days before the event, and I'm walking in this place. I'm like, why is this place so familiar?
mm,
And I'm walking around this hotel. I'm like,
wow.
did I go to some place like this when I was a kid? What is this? And then it didn't dawn on me for months later. It was used in a James Bond movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
So
the Spy Who Loved Me or something like that. It's like they're in Italy or something like that. The one with the white car.
yeah. Wow.
That one. That's the hotel that they're in.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
dude.
And they
Oh,
showed the pool, and we had, my console was set up right next to the saltwater pool, and it was great.
wow.
Yeah.
What a deal, man. I bet you that
Yeah.
was
But
awesome.
the event itself was pretty tripped out. The on stage, the professional part was excellent. We had very good gear that came from Rome, and our opening act was Lee Ritenour, who is a very major jazz talent with an all-star band with Nathan East on bass. Nathan East is the ones that invited us to go. We were invited by Nathan East and this Russian oil guy.
Huh.
I don't know who met the Russian oil guy, but he paid for everything.
Everything. Wow.
And everything. Yeah, I mean, it was Christmas time, and Christmas time, you have to pay your crew a little more. It was
Yeah.
not a problem. Um, oh yeah,
Wow.
that's right. It wasn't September. It was for Christmas that we came, because we had that negotiation. We're like, well, you're taking us away from home during our holiday, and so we really do think that it need to be a little bit more of a better fee for that.
Right.
So, and it worked just fine. And now that's what they have to pay now whenever we travel, away.
Nice. How many people was at that concert, by the way? Do you know? Right off?
Oh,
A lot?
well, it was all guests of this rich Russian guy and their kids.
Oh, wow.
I didn't. I counted maybe 60 people,
Okay.
and
But
there were each one of those people had a bodyguard.
insane.
It
So
was hilarious.
so
We,
money
we
was
were.
not an option.
I was joking with a couple of guys with machine guns that were hanging out by me, by the tables that were by me. It was awesome, yeah.
So
Because they didn't know what they were watching until the hits came on.
right.
And they're like, celebration. They're like smoking cigarettes. They're like, oh yeah, I remember this song. It was great.
That is great. That is great. So you were actually in the movie, man. You were
Hmm.
actually yeah, you set up. You set up. They were everybody was in the movie. You know what I mean? Y'all were at a place where they did film for the James Bond.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
really
The place is called Cala di Volpe. It's the place of the name of the hotel. But
Nice.
it was a trip because again when I cook sometimes I'll watch movies. Actually, whenever I cook, I watch movies, and a lot of times I'll watch The Godfather or Bond movies. And this time I was watching that one movie with James Bond, and I see the car running by, and I'm like, wait, and I see the pool, and it's like that's what it is.
That's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
and I remember calling JT immediately. I was like, JT, that's why we couldn't figure it out. That's why they did James Bond.
That's awesome, man. Yeah,
Hmm.
so did you have a SSL that night on that one?
No, we couldn't source one in Italy,
Okay.
but I was able to get what's the most current Yamaha console, which is fine with me
Yeah,
because it's not the SSL. It doesn't sound like it, but it does just as fine a job.
it does good. Yeah, what
Yeah,
about Allen and Heath stuff these days? What are they
they're
doing? Are
not
they
bad. They're not bad, but they're not pound for pound the same type of equipment.
yeah,
They
maybe
do a good job. I've used them plenty of times, but it's like saying the tiny SSL compared to a full blown 88 RD,
right.
or say like the Nucleus SSL,
Mhm.
the even smaller ones
Yeah.
compared to a full blown
Yeah.
88R. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, they've been out a while. That company's been out a long time.
Hmm. No, Allen's been around forever. SSL is really considered the newcomer because they never had anything for live sound.
Right.
But they took the time to research and ask people again. That's why I was working with them.
Yeah.
They didn't know what the needs of a live person were.
Mhm.
The only reference they had was making broadcast consoles. But broadcast is not live. Yeah, it
Exactly.
is. It is live, obviously, but it's not. The needs of a live engineer are a little bit less
Mhm.
than you would need anywhere else.
So did
However, you can obviously put as much you can implement a lot of flexibility into the stuff obviously today,
mhm. So
which they did.
so typically how many channels would you have on a live situation in a band?
Depends on the act.
I mean, maybe 32.
Yeah, I'd say like a small act these days could be yes as little as 16, 18 inputs.
Yeah.
A regular rock group would be 24 to 32, something
Mhm.
like that. I haven't really done anything over 32 in a while.
Yeah.
JT's I think up to 60,
Wow.
just under 64 because I know we don't do two different layers.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm. And that's also condensing needs too because the basic console that I use all the time is the Yamaha CL5. And that's a console that you can find anywhere. And I don't need anything external to make my show happen the way I want it.
Mhm.
Where my artist is not talking about anything but it sounded good and he's happy.
Yeah.
Here's your check. Um, that said, anything else it takes a little bit of a adjusting to.
Yeah, so it's got all your compressors, limiters within the channel.
Yeah, most everything is adjusted to the type of song. I have snapshots for every song because his material it has to be fairly accurate in terms of what it sounds like, and at least JT is very adamant about his material sounding the way it did back in the day, as closely as it can.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, it's a nostalgic sound, and combined with his voice, I've seen people weep, and it's I
Wow.
I don't fancy myself enjoying watching people cry, but it's satisfactory. It's very nice to see people enjoy the music that much.
Oh, yeah. So is that something you can do a recall on? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I have files for I think 6 different types of consoles. There are different consoles, but
yeah.
there again, there's also stuff that we take on our end into consideration to make that sound. happen also, and then that is also the microphone list. Our microphone list is curated for his sound. When I came in, Jason Greenberg is my main monitor engineer for JT, and him and I got together and we went through our choices of what would constitute the best representation of his sound, making sure that we had something that's repeatable,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that said, we started obviously with the standard Shure package, but for some music, that stuff is only going to take you so far.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to tweak a couple of different things and try a couple of different things that brought us in a little closer to being able to recreate that in a more effortless manner. Things
Mm-hmm.
like, for instance, I brought in a vintage AKG 451 for the snare. That was noticed immediately. We brought in, I brought in a couple of micro. I have by Neumann 103 and an R10 Royer for the guitar. That was noticed immediately.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden the guitar, which is a big part of that sound, is featured the way it's supposed to be. And I can do a lot more physically with it. Now, instead of a wimpy 57, which can only get me, yeah, sure, it can sound good. But one, I have a guitar player that it's incredible.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he pulls all that stuff right up of his guitar. That all those songs, they weren't really super intricate parts, but they're iconic parts. That if they're not done properly and they're not heard properly, the music is like, okay, what is that? Oh, that sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things that they're little elements have to be showed properly. And if I have the most accurate signal coming into my console, that makes it even easier for Peter to show the music in the light that it deserves. And it's required from me. Really, it's not something that is necessarily my choice. It's just something that is straightforward. It's just that's what the music sounds like. So that's what it needs to be.
Yeah. Wow. So, any acoustic instruments on stage or everything electric?
Everything select. Let's see, acoustic. We have sax. That I take with I have a DPA 4099 for those,
Nice.
and those work really well.
Yeah. Wow.
Hmm.
Saxophones, man. So, is there a specific distance that you would actually have him play from that mic whenever you?
Well, the thing with this guy is that we feature him in some of the songs come up front, kind of like solo and kind of like duo with JT. So
Okay.
his needs to be able to roam around wirelessly.
I got
So we have him on a wireless unit.
you. Nice.
Yeah, and that's why he's had the little DPA 4099 on the boom. It's right off the horn. And
Yeah.
I don't place it right facing into the bell
Okay.
because I like to avoid that wind. I hate that wind. And I
Right.
like to be able to hear the articulation. So just kind of basically, if this is the horn, like I'm trying to get
See,
it's
I
hard to
see.
see on the screen. If
Yeah.
the horn is like this,
Right.
you face it kind of facing away a little bit so it catches it on an angle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Probably picks up that brass too on that rim, placing it like that.
Yeah, it
It
bounces off a little bit and it adds kind of like it I might be inaccurate in this saying this, but to me it sounds like it has like a little bit of like a tiny bit of a reverb that from inside the bell itself too, and
okay.
I think it adds a nice character. And not so far, no one's complained. So
Yeah, and you know with that, I didn't think about that. I was thinking more live setting, kind of cabaret thing where you've got a big ribbon microphone sitting in the room, and then the artist is kind of
well, that too, depending on what the treatment on that sound needs to be. Obviously, you need to consider where to place the mic, and the music of Kool and the Gang, the microphone for the sax at least is generally kind of like a roomy thing. It has to be kind of vibey sounding, not very much in your face.
hmm
So that's why I chose to, and it worked for me to have it a little bit farther away, not really sticking it right in the bell of the horn. So it's all good.
yeah. And that gives him free reign to do whatever. He don't have to worry about placement or nothing.
Yeah, he just goes up whenever he needs to go up, and he does this duel with JT, and it's all good.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
ideally, we'd like to have three more horn players.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man.
Well, I'd like to have two more saxes, at least one trumpet, and at least two trombones.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hopefully being able to, expand our band a little bit. It'd be fun.
Yeah,
Maybe
that.
another guitar player. Two guitar players would be great.
Mm-hmm. How many guitar players right now?
Just one,
One.
but
Yeah.
he's incredible. He's Marcus Robinson. He's a gospel kid. He grew up. That's all he plays, and
Wow.
he's actually playing right now with this blind jazz keyboard player.
Mm.
He's supposed to be like a phenomenon.
Does he
He's
play a
com-
strat? Plays a strat or
he plays a Shure guitar, I think he bought a Telecaster recently, but he always just bought like these really fancy guitars. I mean, he definitely pulls it off.
yeah.
He's actually brothers with the drummer, which helps quite a bit. They're
Oh,
tight. They're
I
really tight. Yeah.
bet. Wow. Wow. So he plays rhythm and lead. Is it more of a jazz type thing? More jazz?
Well, since for at least for this material, he kind of has to wear all the hats, regardless. And Cool and the Gang is just a couple. Their music is just a couple of little things here and there. It's not like he's got to jump around from rhythm to lead all the time.
Right.
But they are iconic things that if they're not played properly, it's not the song.
Right.
So,
Right.
luckily, his musical director is this kid Hanan Rubinstein. He's actually also Alicia Keys' musical director,
Oh,
and
nice.
he comes in and he helps us. Yeah, he's amazing.
Nice.
He's actually the great grandson of Arthur Rubinstein, the
Oh, wow.
pianist. Yeah, it
Wow.
blew my mind. Yeah.
So do these guys have to rehearse that much or nah? They got it.
No, these are the type of musicians that are always playing. And as much as I always recommend that we have rehearsals, they always end up surprising me by how tight they can get in within minutes. You
Sounding
know,
great.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, these are guys that being a musician is not a side job. They're musicians all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they go a couple of weeks without playing, it's still like riding a bike to them. They can get
Hmm.
they can get in there and
That's all they do. Yeah.
nail the piece.
And but all these guys I know have been playing all along, all this through the pandemic. Like for instance, the drummer and the guitar player, they both play in their churches and in different churches. Actually, Roberto plays in like 4 different churches.
Wow.
He's the drummer. Yeah.
Wow. See see what kind of drums does he play on? Ludwig's? Pearls?
He plays. He doesn't. He's not endorsed. I think he's with Sonar,
Okay.
partially. I personally prefer Yamaha drums
Yeah. Yamahas
for
are
for
great.
for recording. They're a little bit more versatile in
Yeah.
sort of sound. If you have a good drummer that knows how to play drums,
Yeah.
that can play a shell properly, you can make a Yamaha sound like a heavier something like you can make a Yamaha behave like a DW
Mhm.
or get that heavy sound.
You ever heard of Slingerland?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So my drummer had some Yamahas, some Slingerlands, and then ended up with some Tamas. But those
Hmm.
Slingerlands, man, he got them from his dad. His dad passed them down to him.
Hmm.
Wow. They
Oh
really
yeah,
done me
when a
good.
lot of those older brands, when they were produced here in the states, made by people that really took their time making things properly.
Yeah.
It's like like the guitars.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I mean, it's hard. There's not one guitar that's going to sound like the next one. They have their own little
Hmm.
quirkiness and their own little personality. And,
Yes, sir.
man, don't you love them all?
Hmm.
I do too. I do too, man. So drums are like that in the wood and the layers and how they,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I can't wait to have some space to get some good drums.
man. I know, man. Those Yamahas he had were white. And
Mm.
man, they just there were some things that he said that, I was like, man, I don't know. I kind of disagree with you there. I really like the way these sound on this particular song, whatever. But I want to say the Slingerlands just kind of maybe more for jazz or something?
Yes, yeah,
More
it depends on
jazz?
the. Yeah, they're like a thinner sound usually.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, because when we were doing some copy Zeppelin tunes and stuff like that, man, I was digging the Yamahas, man.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean
yeah, and the Yamaha has a more of a workhorse sound, if you want to call it that, that lends itself a little bit better to anything else.
mhm,
So that I've heard people call them collared. The Yamaha has a very collared sound, but
mhm.
if that's their sound, that's what it is, and
How
it's
many
not necessarily unpleasant. What's that?
right, how many mics do you typically use on the drums in a live
Let's
situation?
see. On JT, let's take him for example because it's basically what I use for pretty much anyone else. I have two kicks, two snares. I'll have three or four toms, two overheads. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it for drums. I don't like to use what's it called, ride mics or anything like that.
Yeah.
Then I would have actually three for bass. Two mics and one DI. The DI that we use is the Rupert Neve mic DI, and I like to use generally either a D112 on one of the mics, and then we also have been using the Telefunken M82 for the other mic bass.
You were telling me about that, man,
And
that
then
you
I
really
have,
enjoy that microphone,
it's
yeah.
really good. You just have to move it around.
Mhm,
And then I have the Neumann 103 and the Royer R10 for the guitar. Then
mhm.
again, Rupert Neve DIs for the. Yeah, I think each keyboard guy has two. Yeah, everyone has two keyboards at this point, and they all have, if I believe, if I remember correctly, Jeff has some kind of new cork thing, two cork things, and then the other guy also had cork stuff. But they're both incredible keyboard players too. But each had two channels of basically four channels of Neve um, uh, DIs for two keyboards each, and then the 4099 DPA for the sax, and then three backup vocals. Those were wireless, and for those I used the Shure KSM8 capsules, which are the newer ones. And same goes for JT. For JT, I use KSM8 capsule, and
Ni
that's two mics for him, his main and his backup.
nice.
And then there's also, sorry, there's a sample pad on drummers also. That's also Neve DIs.
And as far as the vocal mic, 58? I mean,
No,
line
the KSM8,
oh, wow,
the
okay,
Shure
nice.
KSM8.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, all the backups are all KSM8, and JT is also KSM8.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Yeah, man, that's, it seems I wanna say what was that? I wanna say it seems like I was reading this article, man, where they were using KSM8, then they were going through actually Universal Audio 610 pre. Now this is a live situation, man. What
Yeah,
band was
it's not
it?
unusual.
Yeah,
It's
what
not
band
unusual.
golly, come on, Randy, think, man. Anyway, they were using the 610 pre with a black
Mm-hmm.
face
Mm-hmm.
compressor.
Yeah, I've thought about bringing stuff, but the cool thing about, for instance, the Yamaha console, the new Yamaha stuff is it has the ability in the what they call the head amp, which is basically the stage box, and in the digital realm of Yamaha, the stage box, besides just being the snake, is also the preamps. The preamps are in the snake box,
Oh,
so
wow.
connects to the console via a long
Yeah,
fiber,
wow.
and so it remotely, and you have the option in the new stuff, if you paid all the money, to change and they made a deal with Rupert Neve, and you can have Rupert Neve modeled preamps on your Yamaha.
Beautiful, man.
They sound all right. They don't sound bad. Or better than stock stuff.
Wow,
So
man.
yeah,
I wonder what something like that costs to actually get set up with that all Rupert Neve stuff in line.
I
If you
mean,
had
I could
to
find
guess.
out, but the cool thing about all that stuff is that you don't necessarily have to use it just for live sound. In fact, I might be wrong, but I don't think so. You might be able to buy a Yamaha stage box with the Rupert Neve stuff and connect it to anything else using Dante.
Wow.
If you have a console that has Dante, Dante will accept Dante no matter what brand it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you just pick it up on the network, and here comes your Neve preamp flavored
Oh,
signal.
oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. That's
Gee,
one of the cool thing about all the digital stuff. You get in a lot of cases, if you use the right the thought process, you can mix a lot of it.
together. That's
Mm-hmm.
interactive with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And Dante's cool that way. You can use, just as long as it has Dante, you connect it all together. It basically have a program that you open it up, it all shows up, and you can pick up any signal from anything for anything and
And
to
send
anywhere.
it
Yeah.
to where you want to send it to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
The
I really.
classical stuff that I was going to send you, I recorded that way. I was just doing, I was the system tech on stage, but I connected all the Dante network because everything was being run by Dante. So from my computer, I just connected my drive, and I could just open up my Waves Live, which is how I track sometimes stuff. And I open my Dante sound card and what's it called, the controller software it has in it, and I just route it right to my Wave software and let it rip. And there I have all the multi tracks.
Wow. That's
I didn't,
beautiful.
and then I did need a console.
That's nice, man. Is there a particular decibel that you like to print it on your waves at that point, like -3 dB or -2, or you
Yeah, I
try to
like
get
to,
close?
if I have the ability to put something, say, whenever possible, I'm going to try not to commit to, say, compression or anything like that to tape. But also these days, it's so easy to multi-track stuff that it's not even necessary to think that way. You
Right.
just pick the multi-tracks or whatever tracks you do want into your DAW. You route it from Dante, and you let it rip.
Nice.
You worry about the processing later on.
Yeah.
It's coming in the same way that it's hitting the preamp. You don't have to even set levels.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So it's not
Yeah,
a
it's set by whoever set the preamp levels on the console, whoever's driving the show.
man. That's nice, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So that one y'all did when you did you were at the Lenny Kravitz show and you sent me those songs and whatnot.
Yeah, that was just the left right that they sent us to feed, say, like their back rooms, because they had, Lenny brought in their own guy and they had their own stuff. So we just got a left right to send to, the delays basically.
Right. Right.
And that's how I picked it up. You could see it in the Dante network, and you pick it right off, because obviously, if you just take it off of our console, you're kind of degrading it a little bit to if you're recording it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but if you pick it directly from the network, it's identical. You're not delaying it, or it's not getting any kind of process or anything. So it's a much better way to record it.
Way to record, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was some cool tracks you sent me, man.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Did you have fun at that? Did you have
Oh,
fun?
that was an incredible week. That was a long week. That was the most. No, actually, at that point, it was the most speakers I had ever seen in one event.
Wow.
It was one whole semi just speakers.
Man, really?
Imagine one full semi of
Yeah.
just PA speakers,
Wow.
and one full semi of the cables
Oh my gosh,
and
man.
amps and all that.
Wow. I bet that took a good while to set that little
Yeah,
setup,
it took,
huh?
well, we were there for 12 days, I think it was, and it took every room at Luxor in Vegas.
Wow, man.
Every one of the convention rooms, all the meeting rooms in Luxor. I remember it took us, and it took our crew 45 minutes to get to where we had our gear from the entrance of the hall.
Wow, man. So you gotta tell me, man. Come on, Dennis, man. You gotta tell me, man, that you flew there a few days early just to enjoy things, right? I mean,
Well, we had plenty of time to enjoy. Our work days are still not really 9 to 5; they're more like 8 to 6, basically. And
okay,
we still have, we have crew dinners, and we hung out, and if you wanted to go and do whatever you wanted to do after hours, you do.
yeah,
But just as long as you're back on time on your call the next morning.
right.
So yeah, Vegas is a great town. I personally know I'm not a gambler, But I don't mind going around and checking out the scene. And I always like going to seeing pawn shops and looking for guitars and
See, that's
finding the music stores. And
yeah.
if I know somebody that has a studio, I'll meet with them and stuff. But also,
Hmm.
there's a lot of people I know in Vegas that have a lot of the sound companies. So it's nice to see the folks and visit with people. And a lot of times that's how you get gigs.
Yeah, yeah, just by just going out and
Yeah.
talking to people, man. I
But
know, man.
things that I saw in Vegas that I thought were cool was, for instance, from my hotel room, you could see the famous those planes that take people to Area 51. I don't know if you ever heard about
Oh,
those.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
wow.
Janets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're
So you
white with the red air wing thing, and you could see them from my window. It was great.
oh, nice. So you could check them all out, huh?
Hmm.
So let me ask you something, man. The studios over there, at the time that you were there and whatnot, this COVID thing wasn't happening, right? I mean, none
Oh,
of this.
this is long before that. Yeah, I was in Vegas between 2015 and when was the last time I was there? 2018.
Okay. Wow. Nice, man. And the concert lasted from 8 to 12
Yeah,
or
doors I think were 8:30, and they were there. I think the Letty part of the show started at 11 because that
okay.
was the whole thing. That show was for a company called Deloitte. It's I think they do vote tallying and a lot of corporate stuff.
Yeah.
And the party, it's like their holiday party. It was like 6,000 people or some ridiculous thing like that.
Wow.
And it wasn't meant to be initially for as far as the employees were concerned, which are the guests. It was just supposed to be like a gathering. They were just like random tribute bands, and like every corner had like little tiny stages with like some goofy band doing covers.
Oh, wow.
And so at 11 o'clock, all those stopped, and this giant curtain at one end of the stage dropped,
Okay.
and all the speakers come on, and now for your entertainment, thank you, employees of Deloitte, Lenny Kravitz, and he started rocking out, and that's when it's not first song that you hear is him rocking out as soon as they drop the curtain,
Wow.
and like I
I kn
told you, I've never seen so many people in wheelchairs go so fast.
Wow.
All their they had a lot of people in wheelchairs, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
I've never seen people travel so fast in wheelchairs.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I bet it was loud too, wasn't it? How many decibels
Well,
you
it was
thinking?
concert loud. I mean, it's never really more than 105, 106, if that. And then that room it was probably more like he probably had his fader at -6, and I'm
Mhm.
being conservative.
Mhm. But a wall of sound. I'm sure
Yeah, it
I'm
was it was
yeah.
in a room like that, it's as loud as you would expect any concert to be.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I'll send you pictures of that whole setup. I have lots of pictures of the PA and the backstage, the whole setup with the amps and everything.
Man, I love seeing a concert in a good sounding, room or a good sound where you can feel the kick, man, hitting you right in the center of the chest, you
Well,
know?
it's a combination of gear, people driving it, and what they allow you to do with the room.
Mhm.
We luckily that room was just covered in curtains everywhere, so that helped quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, control things and what
Hmm.
yeah. Wow, man. I bet it did sound good in there. I bet it sounded good in there, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little slappy, but it's a big convention center. That's what it's going to do.
Right.
But
Right.
it definitely helped with the curtains.
Right.
It was more
And
drapes and not really curtains.
okay, so the ceiling's really high?
Really high ceilings, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a standard convention center is no different than the one in Dallas. It's just high convention center, a little more modern looking, but
Mhm.
that place in Dallas looks like it could be in that old Planet of the Apes movie.
Let me ask you, when's the last time you've been out there?
In
Dallas.
February,
Okay.
I was there. I did this giant real estate company called Keller Williams,
Okay.
and they did their year in-house meeting with all their like world employees.
Oh, wow.
and I had their I didn't have their main keynote room, but I had their smaller room from the
Okay.
keynote room, and that was still 60,000 people.
Oh, wow. They're local around here, man.
Yeah,
Keller,
that's why.
yeah,
Yeah, Keller
yeah,
Williams big all over the Southwest.
yeah.
So they had all those people in Dallas. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many people tried to sell me a house that week.
So from where I'm at, it's I want to say 5 hours, 4.5, five
Mm.
hours where I'm at, to Dallas. It's a good little drive. It's not bad, but
Yeah, I like Dallas. It was a nice town. I didn't get to really go too far anywhere, but it was nice.
hmm How long did it take you to get there on the plane?
A couple hours.
And that was it, huh?
Yeah,
Wow. Did you
well,
stay?
I think I fall asleep. I don't I don't keep track of the time.
Did you stay a couple hours? I mean, did you stay a couple days once you got here?
No, no, I was. Oh, you mean after we were done?
Yeah.
No, I went back right away. I mean, we were here 10 days or so.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, down in Dallas for 10 days.
Wow. Yeah. Good little gig though, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, it's great. And it was excellent. It was right, it was overlapping with the beginning of people talking about the COVID. So
mhm.
it was interesting to see. We had the lighting that we had was very modern and very concentrated. And our lighting designer, pointed out the fact that you could see the droplets in the air, and
Really?
the lighting it was so new, so intense that I had
Yeah.
never seen that before. You could see the droplets everywhere, and
Oh,
that's
wow.
it was almost disgusting. I was just like, oh my god, I hope I never see that again.
Oh, wow. Like
Yeah,
like a mystical type? Like,
yeah, like if like when you see somebody sneeze and that little cloud
yeah,
hangs,
just yeah, just
that, yeah, like that, but just constant. But again, there's I'm in a riser and there's 60,000 people in front of me in a little giant convention center. Yeah, that's what you're gonna see.
wow.
So I'm glad it didn't go beyond that, but it was a scary thing to see in the air.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, wow, with all
But
the
also that whole week that we were at the old convention center and they had issues with the air. They had all kinds of fun things happening that week.
oh, wow. So if it coulda went wrong, it went wrong as
I'm
far
glad
as
it didn't. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. No joke, man.
Hmm.
That's one of those things where you just wanna get in and do your job, and everybody happy. "Thank you,
Yeah, I
sir."
think I sent you pictures of that gig. I
Did
think.
you? Of
Yeah,
that
you,
one?
you see the whole room. Well, I sent it with people and without people. I'll send them again.
Yeah, man. Because I don't know if you did, it's been a while.
Is the one where that you can see all the different speakers? I sent you a list of all the speakers I had. It was like 60 speakers,
Yeah, man. So, by the way, what kind of speakers do you like the most in live?
whatever the ones I can
JBL?
get.
You like
I mean,
oh,
there's a preference. Um, if I have, if somebody says to me, "What do you want?" I'll get it for you. I'll go with DMB or Acoustics, and they're both European brands. DMB is a German brand, and Acoustics is a French brand. They're the leading brands, and no for a lack of quality. Domestically, we make really good products, but they've changed, and unfortunately, we don't really measure up too much when it comes to real quality. Um, Meyer is a U.S. brand. They measure up. They do really well. EAW is another American brand that does really really well. In fact, Robert Scoble, who was doing sound for Tom Petty, was using those EAW speakers up until his passing,
wow.
and he swears by those too. But again, there's a lot of really good products. I've heard stuff that never caught on. That was to me, it was incredible.
You
Yeah,
remember? Do you remember? Let me think. Let me get this right, man. But do you remember a company called I want to say Carvin?
there was Carver and there's Carvin. Carvin made guitars and kit guitars, and Carver made guitar amplifiers too. I think.
But one of them out of
Hmm.
the two that I'm trying to think of made speakers as well.
Carver.
Okay.
Yeah, they had. Oh, I'm not so sure how much of it, but they had some products that are considered hi-fi, high end.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Whatever.
people have talked about their amps being really good quality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It seems like I was reading articles about their stuff when they were trying to promote it in the '90s
Hmm.
and whatnot. Did they go out of business?
I
Did
think
they?
they may have become a different brand, and I'm not sure. It may have been maybe Marantz or something like that. Because I know
Okay.
some people that swear by old Marantz amplifiers,
Yeah,
and
man.
it could have been something like that. In the old days, a lot of those brands that we think were from overseas were not. So.
Mhm. Yeah, it just seemed like they just, I stopped seeing them. I
Hmm.
stopped hearing about them.
No, a lot of those brands are people that had maybe a handful of people working for them, and there comes a point where they either got too old and decided to retire, or sold the company, or made a shitty decision, and
Mhm.
it fizzled out. So unfortunately, a lot of those things happen in our industry.
Yeah, I know, man, but I tell you what I don't like to see is when they make something great and they try to either make it better or
Hmm.
improve it and they go down.
Exactly. Yeah,
You
it's
know what I mean?
Uh huh.
It's like, why did you change a good thing, man? You know what I mean? I don't know why you had to do that, but they do it all the time.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
it's for
do.
marketing or whatever.
Yeah, well, it also depends on circumstances. For instance, um, a lot of the stuff that happened with manufacturers in the U.S. isn't even the fact that they were in the U.S. They were just the companies changed ownership and they moved, manufacturing overseas, or the ownership is overseas. Harman is owned by Samsung,
Mhm. Oh,
so and they owned AKG. The AKG mics that you bought for the last 10 years are not really AKG.
right.
From the time that you can't take the capsules of a 451, that's basically when you stop buying 451s or anything AKG.
Mm, that's terrible too.
Even newer stuff, I would consider all of it budget.
Right.
And like I told you, the guys that they fired the people from AKG Austria,
Mhm.
and those people created that company, Austrian Audio, and their mics are really good.
Mhm. So what about this mic mod stuff? Mod mic?
Oh, Mike and Mod.
Yeah, mic and mod. What
Well,
about that?
that's the next
That's
frontier.
I know, man. Do you really like believe in it? I mean, would you say you really feel comfortable about their stuff?
Absolutely, that's easy.
Okay.
If you see the bill of the yeah the parts list, it's really not that many parts.
Okay, but everything that's in there looks legit. It's a real deal.
Yeah, they're all European parts. It's all WEMA components, which are European capacitors and best
Tolerance,
quality
one
stuff.
1%
Yeah, it's all
tolerance.
audio. It's audio quality stuff.
Man.
I'll look at the list again just to see if there's anything negligible in there. But again, it's one of those things that is the sum of their parts. And from what I've seen, compared to many other kits, it's the ones that really you want.
Yeah, it's the real
And
deal.
that's that they run out. That's the thing.
I know, but what about the capsule, man? Because
Oh, now the
that's a big
capsules
thing.
are, yeah, but I'm pretty sure their capsules are fine.
Mhm. Mhm. When they say, I don't know, they're not made in China, are they? Or are they
No,
made yeah.
not at all.
Yeah, some of those ones that are made in China are real, I don't know, man.
A little too bitey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real
Hmm.
bitey.
No,
Yeah,
but I am going to get started myself. At least for myself, I'm going to build that 500 rack stuff that I was mentioning.
I know, man. You know that's gonna be fun, dude. You gotta
Well,
send me
the chassis itself is going to take no time at all.
you gotta
And
send me pictures of that whole thing, that whole
mhm,
build, you know?
yeah, it shouldn't take that long.
Each time you set it down for the evening, snap a couple shots for me, man.
There's going to be probably 3 evenings.
Then I wanna hear that puppy too, man.
Yeah, yeah, no, it should be good.
You know what I mean? You know
Hmm.
it's gonna sound good, man.
No, and it's my buddy got a bunch of really good mics recently. He's got a couple of new of the new Royers, and he also got some new tellies also, and he found a really old 421, the gray ones.
Oh, wow.
Mine's are not as old, but mine are old.
Yeah, but I bet they sound great.
Yeah,
You're
and his is perfect. It looks like it came out of the box just now.
really?
Hmm.
When do you think he got his, or when do you think
Well,
they?
he found it. I know the seller is a company in Holland, and
Okay.
a lot of those old mics are really easy to find in Europe. The only thing that makes them different from the slightly different production of the of 421s is that those gray ones were produced with the European connector called Tuchel,
Yes.
Tuchel,
So
and require a little adapter that goes from Tuchel to XLR and a
okay,
dongle.
it
And
looks
yeah,
it
and
looks
it's
like it, but it's slightly a little bigger, or a little different, or how's that?
well, the connection into the mic is a little lock ring, a little screw-in ring, and
Okay.
it goes to a little cable that obviously transforms from that ending, which is the Tuchel connector on the mic built in,
Okay.
to just a cable, and that cable goes into an XLR.
Okay.
And it's just
Kind of like,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless you yourself wired that dongle and that's good cable and good solder and it doesn't crackle or whatever,
Right.
I myself would be kind of leery of buying stuff like that. But it is, the microphone. That microphone justifies that.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a little piggy type cable.
Yeah,
Piggy.
and I didn't ask him how much he spent, but I know at least, for instance, the ones I have are the U5 series, which are from the early mid 70s, and they're
No.
black. They have the silver sleeve in the back for the XLR. The
Yeah.
new ones that you see all the time are the Series 2, which just have the EQ thing, and those don't sound anything like any of those other ones.
Wow.
Yeah, I avoid those at all cost.
Hey, did you get a chance to listen to that Ken Tamplin?
I did. He's like, that dude's cool.
Have you
That's
ever
why I said, I gotta send you those files.
Okay.
You're gonna hear for yourself
Wow.
because he did a lot of things that he doesn't explain there.
As far as what? Because I was kind of pretty
Well, he played some of the tracks. He didn't play all the tracks.
okay.
Yeah, there's unless he got a different set of multi tracks than I have, because what I have in order to mix it, and I think he did actually touch base on that. Like I said, every track, say some tracks say the kick drum, the kick track is marked kicks, so it goes all the way through as kicks. The snare track is snare all the way through. The
Mhm.
one that's marked for guitar lead, actually no, the one of the vocal leads has him on the verses, him on the choruses, and during the guitar lead, there's guitar lead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And like that, there's many other tracks that have many different elements within one track that aren't that element.
Oh,
So the Pro Tools session was comped. That's what it tells me is that when they recorded all this stuff, they probably had two multi-tracks synced.
okay.
All right, so they had probably two 24-track machines, each with their own little tracks, and they kept adding stuff to it. When they went to make the Pro Tools session, in order to save space or what have you, or maybe that's how they actually print it on the multi-track, is the way that you see it, where you have different elements and different tracks, and
Yeah.
that's how it ended up in the Pro Tools file. In order to not have a Pro Tools file with 120 tracks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
in order for it to be mixed the way that I would want to mix it, I would have to go through each track and separate all that stuff and create new tracks, rename them and reprocess them all individually,
Wow.
which in turn would be that. And that brings me back to the vocals.
Mhm.
I think in my session there's I think like 12 backup vocals and like four lead vocals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what he showed you there is a very small part of what he did. And I think he even said that he recorded his own backup vocals or
He
something.
did say that.
Yeah, and they do sound cool, but it's kind of like, okay, what did you do that for?
Right. Right.
But that's just him, boosting his own brand. But whatever.
Probably so, but he's really not I think he did a pretty decent job of
No, it's a cool
you
demo,
know,
but he might actually catch some flack for using those files because how did you get those files?
that's what I'm
Now somebody's gonna be like, how? Excuse me, Mister.
how
How did you get these files again? Because we don't remember you being involved in any of these projects.
exactly. Wow.
And the fact that he's putting that live is it's a little bit of a dicey gray area. I personally, because it was also
I don't know, man. Hang in there. Hang in there, Dennis. I know it went away. Hey, I'm fixing to bring you back. Okay.
all right. We're back.
So you were personally and then and then it went away.
Yeah, I almost lost my train of thought there for a minute.
Uh
Where were we?
it was
I need
about
a new beer.
the files. It was about him. I don't know, man. On shaky ground doing that.
Mm.
I wouldn't.
That's right. Yeah, unless you have personally a stake and some kind of ownership in any of these tracks, I generally try to stay away from doing anything publicly with anything like that.
Yeah.
The track, a lot of the stuff that I have was shared with me under those conditions. It's just for me to educate myself. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, I made my own my own mixes of stuff, but I've seen you can go through YouTube and just search for isolated tracks, and you'll be like, how do these people come up with this stuff?
I wonder
You'd be
how
surprised, all this stuff. And it's just like, like people like me, there's lots of people out there with multi-tracks and they get leaked, and it's cool to have multi-tracks. Yeah, it's awesome. But again, with me, they were shared with the intent to learn.
Yeah.
And when I know and find people that have that outlook of learning,
Mhm.
and if I see that it could benefit from having things like that to learn from, it's not a problem, and it's a no-brainer for me to share things like that.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, because not only did he do Queen, Freddie Mercury, but he's
Mm-hmm.
also has stems from other people, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, where's he? I don't know. I don't know where he's getting it, but he's actually,
Well, he probably knows people, and we all have stems.
yeah,
We all have multi-tracks.
yeah. But isn't that? Oh, it was a Michael Jackson thing too. Remember I
Mm-hmm.
shared with you the other day.
Yeah, a lot of people have the Michael stuff too, but not everything.
There was some dude in London or somewhere mixing out that song. Had
Mm-hmm.
stems to it, and he was had his big board, man, and he was
Yeah, there's one guy that has a little SSL console, and he's like, "Look how quickly I can do this." I was like, "Okay."
okay. Well, maybe that's the one.
Yeah,
Maybe,
some dude, I forget his name. No, it's some American guy. I've seen him. I stopped following because a lot of those people are just really kind of annoying.
okay, okay, yeah, he was. Well, this guy was, walking all over the, studio. He was on the board a little bit. Then he'd go over there to one of his compressors in the rack and adjust some things in the rack.
Maybe a lot of people do
Uh,
stuff like that. This
I don't
one
know.
guy I watched. It wasn't a Michael Jackson song, but it was some other multi-track that's fairly widely available. And he's I guess his whole thing is that he does his mixes really quickly. It's whatever, dude.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow. Just for the show, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's become a show of look what I can do.
Right, right. I'm worried about that, Dennis. I'm worried about the guys that make a lot of money or did make a lot of money
Mm. Well,
on
and
YouTube.
unfortunately, you can't
I
stop
mean,
everybody from doing that. But it does do a disservice to a lot of the people that do work and make a living from that,
that's what I'm saying.
because it cheapens down a little bit in a way what we do.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys take online courses, and then they go out and sell manuals and books and all this stuff. I've seen a lot of the guys. I've had discussions with people that take the mix with the masters course,
Mhm.
and they come back, and then all of a sudden they're geniuses or something,
Right.
and they have their own online courses, and then you confront them with like, oh, so what are your credits? And like, oh no, I was in a band when I was in high school, and that's it.
Right. Right. But, it still kind of worries me a little bit when I'm seeing them making YouTube videos to get
Mm-hmm.
famous or whatever on YouTube when I know what their real jobs are, and that's in the studio with the big boys,
Mm-hmm.
with the signed, artists and working with them, hand in hand to, not only, develop their career and how they sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's it costs money to do all this stuff, and so when you were saying cheaper, I mean, I don't know, it's like this. It's like experience plays a large role,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Absolutely.
and them guys in there that make those, that get those Grammys, earned their keep, so to speak, you know.
Yeah, it's misunderstood because even I'll say from my perspective, going when I first, you know, had that opportunity to go and work for somebody at that level, there's a lot of things and misconceptions that you go into the mindset that everyone has. That, oh, you just go and you're gonna wait around a lot and listen to the same song over and over and over and over.
Hmm.
Yeah, sure, to some extent, but all of a sudden you're not complaining for Eric Clapton, are you?
Exactly.
So why can't you have that same output for Joey and the Starbriders, whoever it might be?
Right.
You know what I mean? Hey, you have to have that same approach to anyone, everyone,
Right.
no matter who it is.
Hmm.
And if they see that give you have the artist in your pocket. The performance, in terms of at least what they expect from you, is you've done it.
Yeah. Wow. But yeah, everybody, a lot of these, I mean, they're doing, oh, what's his name? Is it Dave Posado?
Dave
Or,
Pensado, yeah,
okay. Okay. He's got tons of YouTube videos out.
mm-hmm. Well, he's been at it for a long time. He's one of the guys that kind of started the whole,
YouTube thing.
seminar thing online on YouTube type thing.
Yeah.
At least for pro audio,
Mm.
and for he's again he did it at the right place at the right time. He's in the industry at a place where he can do that easily. He can pull from, he's in the center of the
The-
audio world in Los Angeles.
yeah.
He
Who else?
knows all those guys. Yeah, Mick's been on it
Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah.
a
He
ton of
has.
times.
Yeah. He sure has. Who else has he produced or mixed out?
Dave,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Again, I'm not super familiar with him. I watched the show a few times, but I don't know about his background too much.
Yeah. Me neither. I just know that he's been on YouTube a
Yeah,
while.
he's a big LA guy.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. He actually did a, oh, I don't know, not an A B test, but he actually had the AK-47
Hmm.
in the studio, the mic that I have, and the
Hmm.
AR-51
Okay.
and the Copperhead. And
Okay.
they were doing a test,
Nice.
and they did vocals on each one of them, right? And guitar on each one of them.
Nice.
And then they all had their idea of which one, they thought was best, at the
Hmm.
end of the show. And there was two different engineers in there. There was Dave and some other young cat.
Hmm.
And Dave was saying, "Well, this is what my ears hear. What do you hear?" And tell me if I'm wrong. And they weren't, and so yeah, man, that was the first time I actually because I was reading about that mic and
Hmm.
then I ran across that video
Very cool.
and I ended up getting the 47 instead of the 51. I'm glad I did, man, because it works perfect for me.
Nice,
But
nice.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
speaking of that, it was funny because the first video that I watched with our friend Peter from Belgium was him doing a comparison of the Warm, I think it was the Warm Audio 67
okay.
and his Neumann 67.
67 or 80?
Yeah, no, he has. I think
Because they
was it
just
the
come out with the 67. The
was it the
87 was
67?
the first one
No, I
that.
think I think it was the 87 that he did. I'm sure.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think it was the 87.
Well, they have an 87.
Right, right. No, they have both. I thought, don't they?
They do, but they came out with the 87 long before they came out
Yeah.
with the 67. The 67 is just recent, so I don't know when you watch the video.
Well, it was a recent video, so it could.
What did you read of 67? Yeah.
It might be the
Either
67.
way, does it sound pretty good?
Yeah, he was like, yeah, it's aside from a couple very minute tonal things,
Wow.
it's pretty good.
So that microphone is under $1,000.
Hmm.
What the heck?
Yeah,
How
but
much? How much is it?
so is the mic and mod.
Yeah, right. They have a 67 you can put together.
I maybe not now. I think that now they have the C12, the 251, and the 87. Oh no, and the 47.
Oh yeah, the 47.
But I know they used to have it. Everyone's in it. They did change their models all the time.
Well,
It also
being
depends on how popular they sell out.
yeah. See, being I have the 47 here, I don't know why I'd want to just get another 47.
Because
I
it
mean,
never hurts to have two of them. I wouldn't be complaining.
I know, but what about the 251, man? Then I would have two different mics.
Man, it is nice to have two at the same time. I've had them.
What, the 251?
Well, when I was able to, a client of mine has two of them. He has a really nice collection of mics, and one time he allowed me to, carry both of them home, the 250 and the 251.
Oh my gosh.
And again, it's one of those things that because I'm in my house, everything kind of sounded great, but you have no reference. You're like, well, everything sounds good,
Right.
It was the same when for instance, like I also had I told you last night, I had the Neumann SM2, which is a stereo tube condenser mic.
Yeah, I know.
And I tried recording something at home. It sounded horrible.
Really?
Yeah, it was horrible because the room sounded so bad.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, a little more, it could have picked up the color of the walls. It was so good,
Oh, wow.
but it picked up everything too much.
You don't have that mic still? No?
No, no, no. You can look it up. There's a website. Everybody can check it out. It's called. Can I text you through this? I guess I can.
Yeah, you can type in there. But look, man, let me tell you something, Dennis. I seen a guy had that mic on this vintage audio
Uh
thing
huh.
that we're both, anybody can join up. But he showed it and it was missing the grill on it. Okay?
Okay.
But everything worked on it. He was trying to find the daggum grill to the mic.
Weird.
He was asking questions. Does anybody know where I can find the grill to this mic?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
if you go to that website that I just sent you the link to, they have very detailed information on a lot of different mics, and that one was in there. The SM2's in there. A lot of the, obviously the more prominent Neumanns are in there. A
Mhm.
lot of them have a sound sample. The guy went through the trouble of recording his voice with all those microphones, or the majority of the microphones.
Wow.
And it's like, I guess this guy had a collection of microphones, and I guess it was his hobby to have this website. And it's a really cool website.
Nice. I'm gonna have to look that up. I want to say I read about in order what microphones came out. What Neumann put out. The bottle was first. The old Hitler mic. Everybody had
Mm-hmm.
that mic, and then they moved to the U47. That's the one that came, abundantly popular real quick in all the studios around the world. And then I want to say, but anyway, the 67 came out when they were listening. I'm trying to think of when the stereo mic came out.
Well, the SM2 is 1958 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was the tube version of it.
Okay.
It was basically like AM54, but two. It's also really tiny. It's like this big, and it has the two small capsules above each other. And
Okay.
on top, you have this screw dial that you can basically move the
The yeah,
the capsules around to create your patterns. X, Y, or the
our balloon. Yeah.
coincidence.
Yeah.
And you have, if you looked at it from the top, you had the gauges. It's like put it here for this measurement, put it here for that, put it here for that, and
No,
add another mic for this. And
no,
and it had the multi-pin cable that went to this power supply. And it smelled delicious.
I bet. Was it heavy? You're
No, I mean the mic itself. I mean, it's not. It was maybe a little wider than a 57. It's not a huge mic.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, the
Yeah,
picture.
the capsules are tiny. The capsules are like the size of a quarter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a KM56, but two capsules.
Oh, nice.
In fact, I think it may have been even the same capsule,
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what,
or
those old.
KM54, one of the two.
So I'm gonna go to that website, man. I'm gonna check
Hmm.
them out.
Yeah, there's lots of information on lots of vintage and current microphones with samples.
Golly, dude.
Hmm.
Thanks so much for joining in tonight.
My pleasure, man. We'll do it again. I'm
You know,
glad that we got the software happening with like breaks and everything. It's great.
hey, that's okay, but you know what? I know how to
Hmm.
get us back in.
Well, on my end, all I did was reload the page, and it gave me the option to join again and and use my microphone and my camera and all that.
Okay.
Like
So
last time we were trying to do it, and it just wouldn't do it. Now it does.
now it does. Now it's working for us, and I love it, man.
Hmm.
I love it. It makes it so nice. Hey,
Absolutely.
it's really cool. And by the way, I love the fish in the background.
I'll have different animals next time.
No, man, the fish is the deal, man. I love
The
it,
fish
man.
are great. I had piranhas in there. They have one with piranhas. It's awesome.
Okay.
The piranhas are always like looking in one direction. It's great.
Okay. Well, you need to do those, man. Thanks so much, Dennis, for joining in, man. As always, it's
My pleasure, guys.
a pleasure having you
Hey,
on.
by the way, the backgrounds are also really good to have when you're doing a session. If you're mixing,
Yeah.
put a background on, stop looking at the screen, and use your ears.
No kidding.
Use a
Right?
controller. You got a controller. Use your faders.
Yes. And that's
That's what we did. That was
God.
one of my things that when I was with Mick, finding good entertainment to have in the monitors.
Okay. Where you're using your ears,
Well,
man.
we had cable or what have you. We could put anything we have in the monitor. I remember finding a way to patch YouTube into our monitors
Okay.
back in the early days.
Wow.
When YouTube was starting to be a thing, and I was like, oh, there's all this cool stuff on YouTube. So,
Right.
and a lot of times I would just find HBO, whether they're playing on HBO today, and put a movie without just mute it. And
Yeah.
when he's mixing, he's just kind of watching movies, or he'll stop, or he'll take a break, and then go back to mixing. But he's always kind of watching a movie, which is cool.
That is cool. That's
So you
cool.
have to make sure that you choose a good movie, not just any kind of crap.
Right. Right. But most importantly, man,
Yeah, that was also very important. All that stuff was, you know, played a part in the way the day usually would go.
so before we go, I want to throw this out there real quick about compression,
Hmm.
about compressors, because, man, you can get into all the science that we want to get into science. Science is science and it's theory.
Hmm.
Okay. And theory is very important, but it still boils down to
The
using your
practice,
ears
absolutely, it
and
comes
using
down to that. It comes down
what
to the pudding.
what's going on. I can sometimes, let me tell you what this is what I liked so much, Dennis. Okay, that I love so much about the distressor
Hmm.
is it's got these huge big knobs on it, right? Now that when you get it, they give you a starting point. Okay, set everything at 555 straight across the board, and
Hmm.
you can go from there. And I did. But this is what was fun. I'd be listening to the music and not paying attention
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
what I'm doing here, but
Hmm.
listen to what's going on here, right? I love
Exactly.
I gotta get that compressor back in the studio, man.
Hmm. Well, hopefully I'll get myself some of those, but this is the year of preamps for me.
Yeah, the 500 series, right?
Yeah, that I'd like to get a little bit more preamps happening. Ideally, I'd like to get rid of the console and just have some kind of controller that's a little bit more in terms of what I need. It's easier these days to just have a bunch of preamps and use them in the same manner that you would a console, and then I can also take them out and use them.
Right, right. See, that's kind of like you know, um kind of like where I was at one
Hmm.
point. It's like, you could spend thousands and thousands of dollars on this beautiful mixing board that looks impressive,
Hmm.
or you can take, a third of that and put it in some beautiful compressors,
Right.
outboard gear, and just do all your
Yeah,
mixing.
because it also depends on the event too, and what you're doing and who you're doing it for, but and what equipment you're getting.
Right,
Because I'm never guaranteed what I'm going to get. If say I'm going to an event and somebody approves my budget all the way and I'm getting the equipment I want, I'm not going to probably want to need to bring any external gear.
right.
If I have my SSL console, I'm not going to need to bring
Yeah,
anything,
right.
because everything, I can even have very generic microphones and still have an excellent sounding show.
Man, I know, man. And after you've worked on it and used it, and it's kind of like
It's
you just know
you get
that,
spoiled. You get spoiled because you hear it the first time and you know that nothing else sounds like that, and it be all of a sudden you hear it and you know all the things that you don't have to do anymore.
right,
Some things is just as simple as engaging the high pass filter and
right.
adjusting the frequency, and maybe you can, okay, maybe I move the mic an inch this way, and that's it.
That's it. Wow, what a
Because
beautiful thing.
some of that equipment is that accurate that you're like, okay, that is the right move, rather than going in there and start tweaking and notching and things out. No.
Right. No need.
Hmm.
Overkill. Wow. Microphone placement.
Yeah, it's a
Man,
thing.
it is the thing. And when you really think about it, it simplifies things too, doesn't it? I mean, it
Hmm.
simplifies things.
Yeah, especially if you have a band that really hits it all where it needs to be. Because
Eh,
if it starts on stage and you have a band that is absolutely incredible, your job has become much, much
y-
simpler.
Yeah. No kidding, man. Wow.
You just have to, like they say, you have to light it right, and that's it.
And you know what, man? You've been fortunate enough to be able to mix for a lot of excellent
To
musicians.
wing it.
Hey, you know what? But either way,
No, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I think I've been lucky to. Uh, I was stuck in a place like New York where you see day in and day out lots of different bands, a lot of different players, and you get to to get your pick at what you want to learn.
that's
And
awesome.
when a lot of these artists come along, it's almost like a natural progression.
That's awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And at the end of the night, when everybody's happy and they're like, you know what? If you were the guy down there, I
Mm-hmm.
would have been the guy that came down there and said, "Hey, man, what's up?
Yeah.
What do you got back there?"
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Some people do that, some people don't. But
No,
those
usually when you say just see people rocking their head, that's all you want to do,
exactly
and then nobody will come and ask you for anything.
right. They know everything's great.
Mm-hmm. You'll see it happens a lot of times. Generally, it happened a lot. For instance, well, not a lot. The first couple of shows we did, where they're not accustomed to the way I mix or the way I work, but it
Yeah.
was normally people just kind of stand next to you for a couple of minutes, and then you start tweaking knobs, and they start moving a little better. They start moving a little more,
Right.
and then they're really shaking their head, and they walk away, and then you did your job.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect, Dennis. Thank you so much again, man.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you again. It's always a pleasure.
Happy to be back anytime.
Man, yeah, man. And you know what? I'm glad I got this all figured out here. For some
Oh
reason,
yeah,
giving us too much trouble lately. And as you can see, man, I've been working on my lighting in here, man.
yeah.
I don't know if you can see the yellow lights going on. I've got a
A
little.
little bit. I see you get it better in there. You gotta check that twinkly video I showed you. You're gonna buy them tonight if you see that.
I'm gonna check it out, man. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, your mind's gonna explode with the stuff you're gonna do in there.
I love that kind of stuff, man. Seems like I seen something the other day. Something was going up the wall, and it's
It does stuff like
all
that.
changed.
It does all that. It has a mode where you can even tie it into your video games, and depending on what's happening in the video game, it lights up those lights also. So it kind of feedbacks into your room or some kind of.
Oh my god! Hey, man, that's
It's crazy.
yeah. That you know what? You ought to set the vibe or something, man. Do something. I mean, you don't have
Well,
to.
that's why I sent you the link. I mean, as soon as my kid relinquishes the lights, I might get some more.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna check it out, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check.
twinkly.com.
Twinkly.com.
Yeah,
I got it right here. I got it, buddy. Thank you again.
my pleasure.
I love it, man.
All right, we'll talk again, guys. Everybody, thank you for coming out.
Thank y'all so much.
We'll talk again, guys.
Okay, we'll see you again.
See you, Randy.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.